Alright, hello. I am doing something a little different today. I'm going to do a voiceover after the fact for this gameplay. So I have a couple items imported from a previous run. This +6 hat, these +7 boots here, and then I was choosing between the cudgel and the sword. The sword was the one I carried over and I decided to go with that. They have similar damage, but obviously the sword's faster, so that's what I chose to go with. So I did a couple runs and I just chose the best one out of those today. I decided to do something different. I mean, it's a roguelike, so obviously that's something you can do with these sorts of games. This room, I feel like I did pretty well in. So this is one of the rooms with a mage and a bunch of zombies. And I just took full advantage of this spike trap here, and I did take a little bit of damage trying to use it. But just a little bit. I mean, you can see in the bottom left there how much damage I took, and I don't feel like it was not enough to be like super detrimental to the rest of the run. In fact, I think I healed this back up just with the food items that are in this room. So there you go. There's the first room down. Got a little wand, not much charge in it, obviously. These first floor wands are pretty much always trash. Yeah, so here I'm eating a bunch of food. And if you didn't know, you can eat those maggots too, and I think I might have at some point. Pretty successful first floor down. Starting with weapons imported from the previous run is always a good idea. I did record that run, and I meant to show clips from it. Oh, this is kind of interesting here. So I collapsed these barrels, and the zombie didn't die immediately, but then a barrel just barely touched him, and then he died. Got a little stuck here, and then this mole rat has obviously positioned himself perfectly to just get spiked. So yeah, as I was saying was I recorded bits of the previous run, and I meant to just sort of edit them in at the beginning, but then I accidentally deleted that footage before I had the chance to edit it. Not a big deal, so I'm taking a peek in this room. I really like this game. The first episode I recorded didn't do justice to the game at all, because it was just like first impressions. This is a pretty good strategy for this boss guy. It's just to bait him into attacking you right near the spikes and then push him in. I think that's pretty obvious. Yeah, this game's super well designed. I find myself using all of the features, except maybe charge attacks, but that's probably just because I prefer faster weapons. I find myself using all the features in the game, and you kind of have to make it very far, and that's great design. There's no real like extraneous features that I can think of. So I was looking for more weapons around here. I opened this door, but I didn't go through it because I like to clear out the whole floor. I'm not sure if that's a great idea, because there's something to be said for just getting to the later levels quicker because there's better gear, etc., especially when you have good gear that you imported from a previous run. But you know, there's plenty more to be explored in that realm going forward. So yeah, pretty easy room there. Let's see. Okay, yeah, so there's the quest giver. I got a pretty bad quest for this one. You'll see what it is in a second. So I got the quest to lure 3 enemies into a mechanical trap. The problem with that is you have to have a run that has a mechanical trap on it. And those usually only spawn on the 2nd floor, end up beyond, I assume. I think my furthest run probably made it to the 4th floor. I'm not exactly sure. This run, I forget exactly how far I made it, but it was decent regardless. Yeah, so bit of combat. I like the combat in this game. The parrying is really well balanced. The fact that you can't cancel your attacks into a parry means that you have to time out your attacks. You have to learn the patterns of the enemies. There's really actually a lot of good strategy that goes into it. It's not just, you know, blindly wailing on people. You know, you can hold block, but it doesn't stun enemies when you parry, so it doesn't stun all enemies, it stuns some of them. So you have to take the initiative at some points. So here I saw the wand charging station. This is kind of a tricky room. I decided to go for the mage first here, which ended up being a bad decision because then I got cornered by these guys, but I managed to whale my way out of there. And then I just tried to get to safety, lure these guys over to the spike trap. I probably took too much damage trying to lure them in there when I should have just, fought them normally. That's the thing about the melee pushback attack, is it has a really long cooldown, so you can't just sit there and do that. You can like parry while you're waiting for the recharge, which is what I do later in this run. But yeah, really well balanced game, actually. There's a lot of games where like they have a lot of mechanics, but you don't use all those mechanics. There's a lot of games where they don't have enough mechanics and it just ends up being boring, monotonous. This game strikes a perfect balance. I wish there was a little more variety in enemies, but maybe it's just that I haven't gotten far enough. That's very possible. So, I picked up another wand there. I don't think it was much good. Yeah, there's going to be just a couple rooms here. This is probably the problem with clearing every room, is that it just doesn't read well on camera. I was thinking about editing it more. I'm going to try that in the future, I think, but for now, I'm just one new thing at a time, I did a little bit of editing at the beginning to just kind of highlight the items that I'd carried over from a previous run. My mouse is really bugged as well. I'll figure out how to fix that in the future. But so I learned, what did I learn there? Lifesteal, and then I was looking to see if I had any items that required any particular skills, which I didn't, so I just put it mostly into strength, which is what I tend to do. And then this guy here was bugged, so I didn't see him, but he wasn't a problem anyway. Food on the ground, wand recharging station. I don't think I ended up taking advantage of that on this floor, but I did later. I don't think I found the secret yet on this floor. So yeah, what I'm thinking is like the time spent on floor 1 is probably not worth it. Okay, so there you see the barred door. If you didn't know, that means that there's a secret winch in one of the rooms. I mean, it's not really secret, it's right there and it's sparkling, but that's how you know there is a winch in the room adjacent. So I went in there, killed the enemies, and unlocked the secret. There's also a health orb in there, but I'm at full health obviously, so I don't really need that. A little bit of food even, just to top me back up, I guess. I have a habit of eating all the food even if I'm not, even if I don't need it, which is probably a bad habit, because then later on you might need to come back and look for any food that's on the ground. So let's see what I got here. I got a wand, looks like. Some body armor, which I didn't have before, and some shoulder armor, which is worse than the stuff I had. I think I bound a couple of these like little potions to my hotbar. And then I was going to go for that crate, but it's probably not worth it anyway. The best thing they might have is like an invincibility potion, which is pretty good, but not good enough. So back in these rooms, nothing terribly interesting there. These mole guys I have a lot of trouble with, because they have this two-handed attack, which is parryable, but then they have that wind-up haymaker punch, which is not parryable. And I'm still trying to figure out exactly how to dodge that best. I think probably strafing around them is probably the best idea. I've been trying to back up, but you can't back up fast enough if you're right in their face. If you keep your distance a little bit, then you can. But it's not always possible, so I'm trying to figure out the best way to do that still. Zombie guys are a great first enemy because they really telegraph their attacks, and so it's pretty easy to parry. I haven't encountered any enemies that are too difficult to parry yet, but probably the moles are the hardest because their two-handed attack doesn't attack very fast. Or it does attack very fast, rather. So that you don't have a lot of time to react. As you can see, I'm making great use. There's a little bit of that circle strafing I was talking about. I think I did it mainly by accident there, but I think that's probably, going forward, that's probably what I'm going to do. What was I saying? Making good use of the spikes. Yeah, that's another great, well-balanced mechanic. Because you can knock enemies onto the spikes, but you can't necessarily knock every enemy onto the spikes, and you have to bait them over there, which exposes you to attacks from enemies that are behind you or whatever. When enemies are stuck on the webs like that, you can actually get yourself just close enough to hit them, but not close enough to get hit, which is great. Doesn't work for every enemy, I think, but works well enough for the zombies. I think I was looking at my map here, trying to figure out what way to go, and I eventually decided it was this way. Yeah, this hallway here I had not been down yet. And it is a dead end with a zombie in it. I didn't decide to go for them. Could be a little extra experience, but I think it doesn't really matter. Should have anticipated that he would attack me immediately and blocked there, but yeah, no. Can't get it right all the time. Alright, I got a Morning Star, which is a mace, and don't think I decided to use it. I prefer faster weapons, but the slower weapons are also fine. I just prefer faster ones. I think I do end up using a slower weapon at some point in this run. I know the run previous to this I had used a mace for most of it. So I think I've pretty much cleared out this floor here. I'm just trying to figure out how to get back to the exit. There we go. There's floor 1. Yeah, so I think I took a little too much time on floor 1. There's no time pressure, so you can take as long as you want. And maybe that's optimal for some aspects, but I think for the most part, you're not going to find too much that's going to blow your mind on floor 1. Maybe like health potions that you can stock up for later. I mean, I do have 6 of those, so there's certainly a case to be made. Yeah, on the second floor, it seems like enemies spawn in hallways much more often. I don't think there was any mechanical traps on this floor. That is my quest, but couldn't quite make it happen. So let's see, was there anything interesting? This is another one of those zombie mage rooms. Gonna just quickly take care of that guy, save the game. I think that's the same. No, it's not the same room. These rooms are good because they have good loot in them usually. Oh yeah, I decided to try and push the guy off the ledge on this one. I do like the variety of different environmental hazards, both for you and for the enemies. And I'm trying to like parry this guy and dodge the magic at the same time, which I mostly did fine. I missed a couple parries, but I don't think I got hit by the magic much, if at all. It's pretty difficult, actually, you have to be on your toes. Which is another great design aspect of this game, is that, you know, the room compositions are made up so that you can't really, like, it's hard to isolate enemies in a lot of the rooms. So you end up having to dodge around and strategize and do a lot of different stuff, which is really good. So I'm just looking around for loot here. There's a breakable vase, which had some money in it. Not really like super worth it, but I think I did end up going to a shop on this run, so it did end up being worth it. Alright, strategizing. Decided to just run around the room a little bit first, see if I can find anything I can use to my advantage, and I did. There you go, that's awesome. I like the explosive barrels. I've been making pretty good use of them lately. And then fighting these magicians that are on the pedestals is really difficult because you can't get up to them very easily. I don't know, maybe I could like charge attack them and then run away. But like they shoot fast enough that they can mostly get in between, or it's hard for you to get in between their attacks. I didn't even see what I did there. I assume I put most of it into strength. Oh, was there an item that I needed? No, not yet. I think there is an item later that I need more intelligence to get. But I won't spoil that right now. So I've got a better weapon now, or a better wand, I should say. I'm still holding on to that cudgel for some reason. Not sure why. And then I did decide to swap out my shoulder armor. And let's see what I got here. So I got another wand which has good charge. I think that's one of the machine gun wands. Yeah. It's a machine gun wand with a lot of charge. The wands in this game are interesting because you can't just rely on the wands, but they do come in handy a lot. There are a lot of like ranged enemies that you can defeat with melee, but you oftentimes want to use a wand for. But you can't really just rely on the wands because they don't have enough charge. You'd have to just be constantly recharging. Or you'd have to have a really, really good wand, which I haven't found yet. Alright, so back in the hallways, I'm going to try and use this wand, illustrating my point greatly. It just runs out before you can really do anything useful with it. These sword enemies are some of my favorites. They're pretty easy, obviously, but they parry your attacks, and then you could get an immediate chance to parry their attack. I missed it there because I'm bad, but yeah, just like that. It's pretty easy, and then I found a sword that was better than the one I currently was holding, so I think I went ahead and switched that out. Alright, so continuing down the hallway. Yeah, okay, so here I found another one of those chutes to put your weapons in. Decided to kill this spider before going back to pick up the items that I had just dropped. Because I dropped a lot of good armor and weapons and stuff. So I go back, pick that up, drop it off, etc. Yeah, the game really picks up once you've done a couple of runs and your stats are increased and you've been able to drop off really good weapons and stuff like that. I think at some point down the line, it probably becomes worth it to just like speed run the first couple of levels, because you'd just be so strong that nothing you get there is even going to be worth it for you. So yeah, dropped a few things off there, just double checking to make sure there's no other rooms. Definitely didn't have to do that, but anyway. This is an easy room. This is, I mean, basically these are just gimme rooms that have the food items on the shelf for you there. Basically just meant to give you a rest, I assume. Try to isolate these enemies as much as possible, because you don't want both of them attacking you at the same time. It's not always easy, and then I messed up my parry there. Not always easy to isolate those guys, so they do try to find their way around to both attack you at the same time. There's some rotten sausage on the table there, which if you eat that, you lose health. I'm sure anyone who's played the game for like, you know, a couple hours knows some of this basic stuff, but maybe somebody hasn't. There's probably plenty of people who are just watching and they don't know all the tips and tricks. Alright, so, oh, yeah, more trouble with this guy. I tried to just turn around and run that time, but it didn't work. I have a habit of just like spam clicking and missing the parry window. It's usually what happens when I miss that. Okay, I think this is the really good dagger that I got. Let me see, once I pause here. It's 14 to 17, which I think was slightly less than my sword, but it's very fast speed, which makes it really, really good. And I accidentally equipped a kinetic wand there, which I try to use later, and it doesn't work. I'm just sorting through my inventory here, throwing out stuff that's not that useful. Maybe I should have gone back to the drop off and used that, but I didn't bother. So I already got the silver key, so I could just exit now, but I decided to clear the level anyway. I'm not sure why there wasn't a boss on this level. I mean, the game is like pretty much just out of beta, so there might be more coming down the line. I wouldn't be surprised. That's the one thing so far that I don't like is that there's not too much variety. There's a decent enough variety in enemies, but I don't know. We'll see when we get to the later levels. I'm sure there's much more to this game than I've experienced yet. But so far, like, the first 3 levels, the first 4 levels, they all kind of feel the same. Just like with enemies scaled up, basically. These spiders are not really a big deal. I don't think they do that much damage either. They're mostly just small and hard to hit. Alright. Ah yes, these enemies. The skulls. These enemies are annoying, but definitely not impossible to deal with. You can see my strategy there. It didn't work that time, but you can hear them coming for you. And then when you hear them screeching, you stop and you turn around and you try and attack them. Because they kind of pause for a second if they miss you. If they hit you, they immediately turn back. So you got to make sure they miss you first, and then you go and slash at them. You do a pretty decent amount of damage. I'm getting a little low on health. I have a tendency to not pay enough attention to my health, which can really be a problem. I think I've gotten a little better at it. This game has made me get a little more serious about some things that I usually don't pay much attention to in games, like parrying. You really cannot get through this game without parrying. I don't know, maybe you could get by a little bit with just trying to like dodge with movement, but really you can't do this game without parrying. So I've got a lot of parts here, like weapon parts. And previous to this, I had not ever been able to use the forge. I'd gotten to one before, but I didn't have the right parts for it, so I didn't know how useful it was going to be. Spoiler alert, it's not very useful. I don't know, maybe later on when you get better parts, maybe it's more useful. But I haven't found it to be very useful. So I believe I'm just exploring these hallways now. Looking for more secrets. I noticed there's a big blank spot in the middle of the map, so I'm probably heading towards that. Yeah, and that's this room that I looked at earlier but didn't go into. And then I see the heals. So you gotta come over here and attack this guy. I tried to get above him so that I could hopefully block the zombies from getting up to me, but they still were able to get up. I'm trying to attack him and then pay attention to the zombie behind me at the same time, which is really difficult. Another one of those interactions that makes you stay on your toes. I'm kind of spamming my heals here to get through this fight, which is unfortunate. I wish I was just a little bit better and I could hopefully... If I had planned this a little better, I think I maybe could have... if I had gone up the stairs, maybe? I'm not sure. Yeah, there's a lot to consider, and you have to do it all like in the moment. As I play more of this game, I'm sure I'll get a little bit better at it. So now I'm just cleaning up this room. Again, watching this back, like, probably a lot of this stuff is just not worth it. If you're just getting like $1 here and then $1 there, and notice the sword guy down there, and another zombie. So I find myself fighting 2 enemies at once again, trying to dodge around them so that I'm only fighting one at a time, which kind of worked. There you go. Pretty boring fight, honestly. There we go. Got a little bit more money. 14 to 18 on that one, and 14 to 19 on my previous one, so I decided to keep my previous one in case I decided that the dagger wasn't working out for me. But mostly not a problem. See a lot of pots over here. Grab a couple bucks and a couple of health potions, which is probably the most useful thing for me right now. There you go. Now I'm coming over over here, and there's a couple more doors to this floor. I think one of them leads to an area that I'd already been, maybe. No, not quite. Yeah, there we go. Using another explosive barrel. I like using those things. Very fun. And then this is a shop. So I'm going to sell a couple things. I think I sold a couple weapon parts, and then I bought... Did I buy that chest armor? I don't remember. I sold one of my wands. Got a firebomb. I actually have not used the firebombs much. I really should. Probably very useful in certain situations. I think I sold my mace head and my axe head because I don't think I have the stuff to make those, but not quite sure. And then yeah, I'm eyeing this I think I'm eyeing that axe maybe? Not sure. Again, my mouse cursor there is not reflective of where my mouse actually was. Some sort of problem with OBS capturing this in game capture mode. Okay, so I did buy that chest plate. I equip it and I sell my old one. I think it was like a pretty significant upgrade. And we're back off. There's that spider I killed earlier, so I know I've already been here. Just looking at the map, trying to figure out how to get back to an area that I haven't been to yet. There's this door is blocked off. I ate a maggot. Might as well, you know. It's a pretty significant amount of healing, and I needed the health at that point. Getting very lost there. I'm pretty much just looking at the map when I'm trying to navigate this stuff. There we go. There's the hidden door. It's not exactly hidden, but you know. And I have already been here. But I'm going to take advantage of some of this food while I'm there. Some of those little grubs. Just take everything I can get. And then I do believe I decided that that's all there is on this floor. There's a little space in the top right that I was trying to figure out if there's anything there. So I think I might have gone around another... Yeah, look, I'm clicking on the map. This is where I started to get the idea to communicate certain things by just mousing over. I'm not sure about this format yet. I'm just trying something out here. I do feel like there's a little too much dead air. Maybe if I edited these episodes more, that would work out better. It's a little difficult finding a balance between like live commentary and edited content, because if I'm doing live commentary, then I try to just make sure there's no dead air. But then if I try to edit that, then, you know, it's hard to cut anything out because it's all, I'm just talking constantly. So that's something I still have yet to figure out. I may do some sort of a hybrid in the future. Or I might just try a different style of recording. So like while I'm doing it live, I just stay silent for the most part until something interesting happens. And then I edit those parts together. We'll see. I'll try and like, I think I'm going to use this series as a chance to experiment a little bit. So I did pretty awful in this fight, I think. And I'm on level 3 here, so like the enemies are getting a bit tougher, they have more health, they do more damage, and I think I picked up that sword now. So it's 19 to 24, which is a lot better than my current sword. I'm not sure how to do the calculation exactly of like DPS, so I don't know, it doesn't say exactly how fast the weapons are, it just says fast, medium, slow, etc. Yeah, so I'm in a bit of trouble here because I'm fighting a ranged fighter and then a swordman comes up on me. He's carrying a bit of a different kind of sword, so I was a little interested in that. I isolated them in this hallway here, which is a pretty good idea. Like I've been talking about, trying to isolate each enemy from the other ones is a good idea, for obvious reasons. Yeah, this guy has a lot of health, even with my better sword now. It's pretty difficult. Now these two guys are stuck next to each other, so I try to just like dip in and out. Again, I'm very bad at fighting these mole rats. And then the spider was doing some weird stuff, so I wasn't sure. And then I got punched. I'm still not exactly sure what that does. I think it does a lot of damage, but other than that, I'm not 100% sure. And now my health down here is very scary. And the spiders sometimes lag out like that. I don't know if that's intended. I doubt it is, but they just get stuck, you know. Okay, so I was at very low health. I think I paused here and then like highlighted that. I don't know, maybe. Looking at that, I don't have enough intelligence to use it, but it is better than my current weapon, so that's something I decided to keep in mind. And I can see the armory over there in the corner, but I wanted to try and get this guy first. So I get out my wand, and then I realize that it's a kinetic wand, not a damage dealing wand. So I get out my other wand, and I think it only takes one hit, which is kind of lucky. I had already hit him a couple times with my sword. And then I think I just decided to turn around and go to the armory. Yep. Make sure and check your corners as always. Now this is my first time ever crafting something, so I wasn't sure exactly how it works, but I know that I have a blade, a hilt, and a crossguard. So I put those parts in, and then I wasn't sure exactly what was going on here. Down in the bottom left of that blueprint screen, it says head/blade and then shaft/hilt. So I know I have both of those parts. But then I wasn't sure what was going on this screen. I think it's just cosmetic though. I think you're supposed to like move the pieces around so that it looks good. And yeah, so I did that. I named my item, what did I name it? I literally can't even read that. One of the unfortunate things about doing this post-recording is that I'm actually looking at the tiny window in Adobe Premiere. So I can't really see everything so well. I should have opened this box earlier. I could have put one of these on there, but I'm not sure what it even does, so not too worried about it. I just threw it away for now. Alright, so moving on. Trying to get my bearings, see where I've been and where I haven't. Now, I see this little purple shooter over there. I hate these things. For some reason, my brain just doesn't do well with the shooters, because they switch from being like parallel and then 45 degrees and then parallel again, which makes it really difficult. Now, I was glad that one of these guys was caught behind the web. Makes it a lot easier. At this point, it's really important that I just don't take any damage. The lifesteal is really negligible at this point. I'm only doing 0.1 lifesteal per hit, which is really bad. And then I start to fight this guy. I think I'm... yeah. Yeah, so I accidentally broke him from his web, but that's fine. These guys are not exactly difficult to deal with anyway. I missed that one because he came from on top, I guess. Oh man, my health is definitely getting there. I don't remember where I died on this run, but it wasn't quite yet, so I do believe that ooh, it got really close there though. Every hit on this, yeah, I was hovering over it there. Every hit on this level, especially when you're, you know, I think this was only my second run with this character. So especially when you're not leveled very well, every hit can be devastating. So just looking for loot. I think I decided to pick that up just because it's small. I've got the sword that I want, and now I'm looking around to see what else there is. So this, and then there's also these skulls in here, which are a different type of skull, which shoots projectiles at you. And then, okay, so that gray thing is an invulnerability pedestal, I guess. I was trying to just like jump up and hit them, which did work, but it doesn't work all the time. So you can see they're shooting fireballs at me. And then I wasn't exactly sure because I think I've fought these enemies once before, but not very often. I wasn't sure if they were even going to charge at me. They did end up doing it. I think I got... I don't think I died here, but I don't properly remember. I did manage to find myself a little safe spot here. And I did get hit. Yeah. On these later levels, it's really important to not get hit. I did level up, though, so I got more health, and I was able to get a little bit more strength. I put a point into intelligence to be able to use that sword. I need to get out of that room before I do anything. So I'm checking. I need one more intelligence, and then I just... What did I do with the rest of it? I just dumped the rest of it into dexterity. I try to keep a pretty balanced build, but mostly strength focused. I don't know. There's obviously pros and cons to dexterity and intelligence as well, but I just try and keep it strength focused for the most part. Anyway, we're moving on. So I think I guess I'm just exploring the rest of this floor now. Oh yeah, I didn't put my points into anything, so I put it into thorns, which is a pretty good place to put it. I like thorns and lifesteal. I haven't really played around too much with most of those perks, but I like those two in other games, and so that's what I decided to go with. Alright, another kind of scary room here. These flying skulls are not my favorite enemy in the game. They're easy enough to dodge when it's just a couple of them, but when it's a whole room full of them, they can be a little bit hard to dodge. Especially because they're above you, so you can't always see where they're at. I'm trying to use my, oh yeah, that was a good kill. Using the flaming barrels to my advantage again. The being aware of your environment is pretty crucial. So I think that's the last one. Oh, there's another mage here too. I, for some reason, was just obsessed with this barrel. Decided to make this work no matter what, even though I took like a huge hit for it. It did work, but there was another magician behind me, and so I'm trying to keep an eye on them. And there's also a couple more skulls that I've just noticed. Alright, so I got my wand out. This is how I'm going to try and take care of this, but it only has a couple charges in it. So I'm targeting the spellcaster. It's a little easier. If you can focus on the skulls, then it's a little easier to take care of them. I'm in real bad trouble now. And the spellcaster's still alive, and the skulls are still alive, so I do believe this is where my run came to an end. Spoiler alert. There it is. Alright, so that is that run on Slasher's Keep. Yeah, so like I said, I'm just trying this out, this format. I do like that it lets me pay attention to the game fully while I'm playing it, and pay attention to the commentary fully while I'm doing that. And also it lets me record whenever I want, although I still have to wait until the house is quiet for the voice recording. House wasn't completely quiet today, but, you know, pros and cons. Anyway, I guess that's episode 2 of Slasher's Keep. I don't know if I'm really keeping this in any sort of episode order, but hope you enjoyed.